Welcome along to the Old Gold Club. I'm Mikey Burrows. Alongside me, as ever, is Chris Owellamo. We are back for a brand new season, and if there's one thing we like to cherish on this show, it's getting the honest, true stories of what happened at the club. And not everyone is going to have a happy story to tell. And that being said, our guest this week made 72 appearances, scoring 2 goals in what turned out to be back-to-back relegations. Welcome to the Old Gold Club. Roger Johnson, here to put the record straight.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the back-to-back relegations was a tough thing for just even to listen to. So, yeah, let's get some things out in the open and some home truths and a bit of honesty, like you said.
Well, let's go right back to the start, because there is only one place to begin, and it's the moment when you arrive at the club and literally a couple of weeks into it, you are made captain.
Yeah.
Was that your choice? Did you ask for that? Or was that put on you?
I did not ask for it. I've heard many people talk about it, saying, oh, it must have been in his contract, he's come in and asked for that. Not the case. Not the case at all. It was mentioned to me by my agent. Said, oh, I think there's a chance that he might be changing the captaincy. I was like, oh, really? And I said, raised my eyebrows, left it at that. So I think my agent probably put it towards Mick at the time and said, yeah, Roger's Roger, he'd grab it with both hands. And the thing at the time, I probably thought captain of a Premier League club, and things have gone well from Wickham to Cardiff to Birmingham. So I thought, yeah, I can probably go in there and, yeah, be a good captain.
It's not something you're gonna say no to if it's offered to you. You know, like, I know that players have asked for certain numbers and things like this, and that's part and parcel of the game. You know, at the end of the day, if a club's going to come in and they're going to want you and you're Mick McCarthy's man, it gives you a little bit of bargaining power. If it was, and there's nothing wrong with if you said, I want to be captain, because you've been captain before, you've led the line, you go out and play and lead by example. In my opinion, that's then down to the manager to make that decision. There's nothing wrong with you asking for it, but it's down to Mick McCarthy saying, yeah, I'm going to give you it or I'm not going to give you it.
Yeah, well, I can put the record straight on it. I've not made that part of my contract, right, I want to be captain. In hindsight, looking back, was it the right thing to do? But like Loom said there, if it's offered to you, I'm not going to turn down being a Premier League captain at all. And how I am as a person, like I explained then, I felt that I could go in there, keep playing the way I was playing, keep growing. When I came to Wolves to stay in the Premier League, and I was getting England call-ups at the time. So I just thought, this is great for me.
Well, let's go to that then. So you come in, and it's easier. You've made your move from, like you say, Wickham, Cardiff, Birmingham. You come into Wolves, Premier League side, and it's a good group. It's a good group. You see United, and then you're given that extra little bit of responsibility. You're sharing, because I'm close with Carl, and I remember he called me at that time about, I think the gaffer's going to change captaincy, because you were sharing it through the pre-season matches. The armband was getting switched to. So what is it then? Do you think then, because obviously your agent said to you that's what's in Mick McCarthy's mind, but you know yourself, do you just go in there and think, I'm just going to let my football do the talking, go in, because you know in a dressing room the character that you are, but it's the football, you've got to get that respect to the players as well, haven't you? Because you are going to be there representative, you're like man between them.
And it actually went swimmingly well through pre-season and the start of the season. But yeah, I mean, I kind of got a gist that that's where Mick's head was at. And like you said, they've subbed on, subbed off during the pre-season games. If it wasn't me coming off or Carl coming off, he'd make someone run it over to me if I was still on the pitch. So I kind of read between the lines and got the gist that it may happen. But at not one point did the gaffer call me and say, I'm thinking about doing it. And then I think it was in Ireland. Pretty sure the gaffer called me to his room and just said, look, this is how it is, this is what I want, I want you to be the skipper. And at that point, I just thought, well, he's obviously made his decision. Going back to what you said, I'm not going to walk out of that room and say, well, no. And at that period, I was high as a kite. I went from strength to strength personally in the clubs I've been at. So I just thought, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Did you and Carl ever talk about it?
I pulled Carl and I said, look, this is nothing to do with me. Mick's made this decision. I don't want it to affect me and you. All know it. I'm a grown man. I knew that Carl would be disappointed because I wouldn't want that personally. But I wasn't at the club before then, so I didn't know what had gone on between the gaffer and Carl at that time. And obviously years and years on, you know when you're in a situation and things get said and we do stuff like this.
Well, Carl has done this, and Carl said on his that he now understands why Mick made the change, that he was a player's captain, not necessarily a manager's captain.
Yeah.
What captain were you then?
Well, we know Carl, don't we? He was, to be fair, and even when he didn't have the armband, he was still trying to do the whole players thing, and spoke well for the boys. Don't get me wrong, he was good, a very good part of the change room, and taking that on the chin as well. Give Carl a lot of credit for that, to be fair, because it's not a nice situation to be in. It wasn't a nice situation for me to be in, but how he dealt with it, he dealt with it very well.
Did that make it harder for you, the way that he was then? Because he is very dominating. You know,
Yeah,
he always expresses his opinion. But you're captain. You are in front of the lads, and you're the leader of men, really, aren't you?
But I'm like that as well. So
Yeah.
that's
what I mean. So was that quite? Is it heads button, or did you just work together, or was that the start? Was that the start of the certain cracks that
I did ask for his help. I said, look, you know these lads are a lot better than I do. I knew a few of the boys before I came, but he's obviously been through promotions with the lads, been through tough times with the boys, so he knows them better than me, football wise, personal life wise. So yeah, I did ask for. I just said, look, if there's anything you can help me with, and it was tough for me to actually come out with that, because I was thinking, how must he be feeling like?
Yeah.
And I always reverse things. How would I feel if that was happening to me, and then I've got the new skipper and I'm still in the change room and he's asking me to help him with the job he's just taken off me. So it was really, it's hard to explain, but it was a tough period, tough transition. But Carl had, like I said, he had the respect of the change room. So I'm sure a lot of boys went up to Carl. I think he said on his podcast that a few boys had texted and rang him and said, disagree with it, out of order kind of thing. As I'm older, I look back and kind of wish I didn't take it, but we can go over that. And I'll say the same thing.
Yeah.
You don't turn that opportunity.
Because is there an element, if you hadn't have taken it, it would have gone to somebody else?
Probably.
Because from the sound of things,
if the
from what
gaffer's
Mick
made
and
his
Carl
mind
said,
up, then yeah, he probably would have. I don't know that for a fact, but I think, I mean, me and Carl are fairly similar in ways. Like we say it how it is. We try and get the problem solved out in the open. No one talking behind people's backs and all that. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe he would have, maybe he wouldn't have.
how much there was a perception on the outside that it split the dressing room, and that's what caused the problems. Is that true? Is that how much in your mind did that happen?
When you add things to it, I mean, we started the season great. Everyone was on a high, and then just out of nowhere, it just, from that day onwards, I think, who did we play? We lost QPR, was it? 3 or 4-0? Rings a bell. From that day onwards, it's like we'd never played football before. So I think when you add things to it like results, not just me taking captaincy, because when we were winning, everything was great. But obviously we went on a really long run of just not getting good results. So then obviously people start picking things from elsewhere. Oh, it must be that, and me taking the armband, it must be that. So from the outsider's point of view, I can see why people would think, well, something's not right in the change room, then it must be that. Roger taking the captaincy, Carl's still there. Trying to think back, there wasn't a massive divide in the change room. Carl had very close friends in the change room, but I don't think that changed just because I took the captaincy, and then there was no cliques like, you had in the change room where, well, maybe I'm naive, maybe there were conversations going on in different parts of the training ground, but I think the main part of that was results based. That we weren't doing it on the pitch.
Because people forget, because you mentioned you were unbeaten for the first 3 games, and the 0-0 draw at Villa, I'm pretty sure it was an early kick-off, and so you were technically top of the table.
Yeah.
After 3 matches.
I remember it. The boys were all buzzing,
and then you lose at home to Spurs, 3-0 at home to QPR, then away at Liverpool, home to Newcastle, and away at Albion. And it's that kind of run, I guess, that set it off. Where there was a draw at Swansea, lost away at Man City, beat Wigan, but it got harder and harder.
I mean, the Premier League is the toughest league in the world, so every game. But the thing is with the Premier League, I mean, I love when you've lost on the Saturday and there's a Tuesday game. The Premier League is Saturday to Saturday, so that period you just mentioned there spanned over probably two and a half months. Yeah. So when you're not getting it and you've got a week till you've got the next game, obviously the pressure builds. We need to get a result, lads. And the longer that goes on, Looms will tell you, he's been in change rooms like it. I've been in other change rooms like it. When you need a result and you're still not getting it, then obviously people start pointing, trying to dig out the problems of what is it.
Right, well, you said that there about, obviously, and it is a result business, and there's squads that are very together that can go on runs just as bad. So were you aware that what people were saying, that there was a divide, was that something that the dressing room was aware of at the time, or like I say, it was just focus on football, or was there outside implements that were raising their head at that point?
It was a bit of both.
All right, so you were aware of it at the time as well. I'm surprised. That surprised me.
Personally, I was reading things or
right,
what people were saying. Like, what is it? That is it? And then obviously the captaincy is there a divide in changing room? Did it affect the changing room? Not really. We needed a result, and we weren't getting them.
Yeah. So,
for me personally, do I think it divided the change room? No. I just back to the same point. But if you're not getting results, there's people are going to point fingers.
I guess there's a point to it sometimes when the team had only just stayed up on the final day. In fact, losing on the final day, but still having that momentum of staying up. So the team that you arrived in, what did you think of it when you first got there? Did it have the quality that people thought it had before?
It's a great question, because I think this. If you go back to it, like you said there, the facts are the facts. Stayed up by a goal, I think. So that for me, as a manager and a club owner, I would probably think, right, it's tough. It's going to be tough next season. We signed me and Doris de Vries, and I think Egert Johnson in the January. I don't think personally that's enough to not put yourself in another situation of staying up on the last day. That's my personal view on it. I would have hoped for a bit more strength, and certainly in the January when we still had a chance of staying up. I would have wanted a few more players. Nothing against Doris, and Doris wasn't even playing really. Mm-hmm. That's why, Egert came in, didn't really play. So I did feel, and I loved the pressure. It was basically, I was the only signing from the squad from the previous season. So, but I thought, no, and I did think we were a good team, but over a Premier League season, it's tough. Certainly when you're getting injuries, it's tough.
Were you told at the time that more players would come
in? Yes and no.
Because you have those conversations, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, Mick rang me and he said, look, we're looking to invest in players. Want to kick on again next season. He sold me the dream of, I'm on a massive club, huge club, Wolves. I liked how Mick was. I liked that in your face, honest, to the point. Would I hope for a couple more signings? Probably, yeah.
What was the dressing room like? As in, I've been under Mick. I know that he allows the players to come and have those little meetings where they get things, and going through a run like that. That would have definitely happened a few times in that case. So is that something you took upon yourself? You got the group together and everyone air their opinions and thoughts about why it's not firing the way it should?
Yeah, it's hard to remember back, but certainly we had. I mean, it's a common known thing, a crisis meeting in football.
Yeah.
When it isn't happening, you have a a big meeting, and a lot of players, some don't want to speak, some do. So it was generally the same people talking,
Mm-hmm.
and it was sort of just going round in circles. Really, we didn't really get anything out of it. All we know, well, everyone knew we just needed to go on a little string of games where you pick a win and a draw. And if you're playing Man City, okay, you might lose 1-0, but a better performance. Do you know what I mean? So thinking back to that era of when we were struggling, it's hard to remember, but there was certainly a few crisis meetings. We'd go through the videos. I think that's just a standard thing to go through, and people would hold their hands up to mistakes. And certainly, we'll move on to that in a minute. My personal performance, certainly after the first 3 games, and I'd never had it before in my career, it wasn't good enough. And I hold my hands up to that massively. I wasn't playing well. I even went to Mick. I said, look, take me out of the team. I said, because everything I'm doing is either making us lose, or I'm giving a goal away, I'm going to block shots and it's coming off my back and going in. So I even went, I said, look, take me out of the team, because I think it might be me. I'm making mistakes. So
was Mick too loyal to you? Because you were very loyal to him. When he actually got the boot, you did an interview at the time where you said the fault was with the players, not with Mick.
Yeah, and I truly believe that, massively believe that. I'm still gutted to this day, to be fair, because Mick put a hell of a lot of faith in me, signing me for a very good amount of money, the fee, that is, not my wage, giving me the captaincy and causing that massive thing to when Carl was still at the club. I just don't think I repaid him enough for putting that much faith in me, basically. So I was gutted. I wanted him to stay, and I still think we'd have stood a good chance if he did stay. But I know it's a results-based business.
Do you think that was the right thing to do? Having if you never had the full back into the dressing room to say, look, it's the players' fault. Do you think, as captain, do you think that was the right thing for you to do at that time?
I'd expect the players to know that.
I said the same, but yeah, I'm just thinking.
But I think footballers, they're not stupid. I know people think they are, but everyone in that changing room will know it's us. It's us. End of story. So the captain going out, I'd expect them to say, well, he's kind of got to say that. But I wanted to say that because I believe it was the players, me included.
So let's get to it then, because this is probably the biggest thing that I guess would gripe fans, and I know it gripes you, the way it comes through. So Terry Connor gets the job, and he drops you from the team. And after his second game, you reportedly turn up for training drunk.
Yeah, you're right about this. This story does bug me massively. Go back to it, the power of the pen, once it's out there, you've got to then convince however many thousands of people that have got that perception that that's not the case. And I was disappointed with how Wolves dealt with it, to be honest, because I felt like I'm kind of getting scapegoated here for what's gone on at the club, why we're in this position. And I just thought it was a bit unfair because, yes, I wasn't playing under Terry. For one reason or another, we didn't see eye to eye. Took me straight out of the team, took the captaincy off me. So that was hard to swallow, but just got to get on with it. Wasn't playing. So yeah, I'd met a few friends on the Sunday after we'd lost. Fully aware that I had training on the Monday. Went and had a few beers. Turned up to training Monday, wasn't late. Turned up to train and trained. Turned up to training Tuesday, wasn't late. Trained, and then Terry Connor pulls me on the Wednesday and says, well, you turned up to training drunk on Monday. I said, did I? I said, what, was I late? Did I train? So that was my sort of answer back. He said, well, the press have got it now and they're going to run the story. I said, what do you mean they're going to run the story? Was I drunk Monday then? But I'm being totally honest here. Yes, I had a few beers on the Sunday because I was disappointed that I wasn't playing, that we were still losing. And I had a couple of beers with a few friends, but I still turned up to work and I still trained on that day. But I think how it came across in the press and how Wolves allowed them to write that when everyone knew the facts. Terry Connor was there, all the staff were there, the lads were there, and with Jez, I didn't really have much dealings with Mr. Morgan.
So you've come in. I don't really know this story. You've come in on the Monday. You've trained. You've got yourself, got the rubs, got the strappings. You've got out and trained. Went home. Come in the Tuesday, trained, and then you get pulled on the Wednesday.
On the Wednesday, because I think our game was on the Sunday, so we were off on the Thursday. I think that's right.
So
we were
what is
certainly in, but I.
So you're getting used as a kind of a scapegoat then, or
You tell me, but once that's out,
it's difficult for you, yeah.
Tough, and then obviously with coming out of the team and where we were in the league at that time and being captain, it didn't help me. But look, should I have gone out on the Sunday and had a couple of beers? I mean, I had a meal and a few beers. I wasn't out nightclubbing. I was down there. I used to live in Merredin. There was a pub right at the bottom of where I lived. Just had a bit of grub with a few pals. Not going to name them. But I still did what was expected. I went to work. I wasn't late. And then 2.5 days later, I'm getting told that I turned up drunk. So,
do you understand though why that grated with a lot of fans?
I totally understand it. I'm there. I've come in as captain. We're not playing well. I wasn't playing well. Their beloved club is, I think, probably bottom of the league at that time. And then you've got a player earning X amount of money, and he turns up drunk. So once it's hard to, like we're having now a conversation. So I'm making you understand what the actual scenario was. Mm-hmm. Reading that in 30 lines of a newspaper cutting, then it's hard to understand. Well, he's turned up drunk, and then there was things. I got sent home, and then I got fined. None of that happened.
Because we did an episode with Steve Bull where Steve Bull talked about getting hammered the night before a game on New Year's Eve and scoring four goals the next day. Is it because of the situation the team is in that people look differently on it?
Yeah, but Mikey, if Roger turns up to training and he's paralytic and he's walking in and he can't string a sentence together, he's come in and trained. He's sat in on a Sunday and wind down and had a meal and 5-6 beers, and then he's went to bed. He slept. He's come in and trained Monday, Tuesday, and then he's been pulled on a Wednesday because did he smell a drink? But he's went and trained. But how many? I can tell you stories now about players that go out on a night out, and I mean clubbing as well,
100.
and then come in and train and get through training. I mean, just get through training and then go and sleep, and then the next day they're fine. But no one has a.
Well, what I'm saying is it because of the situation the team was in?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Well, of course it is. Of course. And that's probably where you probably hold your hands up, Roger, and say,
Massively
you know
hold
what?
my hands up, yeah. Shouldn't have done it. But don't forget, I'm out the team at that point as well, and I'm disappointed. Do I want to sit in my house and think about it? And I thought, I just need to clear my head. Go and met a couple of mates and had a few beers and a meal. So I think it got massively blown out of proportion, which is disappointing. But like you said, I hold my hands up massively. But I just wanted to get that across today because I think a lot of people believe the story in the paper and the smaller things that go with it, like being, he got sent home. No, I didn't. I trained. If anyone says I didn't train, they're lying.
Yeah. I want to fast forward then to you get back in the team, and then you have the incident with Wayne Hennessy on the pitch.
I mean, I think that got blown out. I still speak to Wayno now. I've asked him to come and catch it, and I think he punched it. I just wanted to take the pressure off us. I've had this row with every probably goalie I've ever had in my career. I think he's punched it when he got called it. I was like, I won't use the language, but can't catch it to relieve the pressure. Cause I think I'm right in saying I can't remember who we were playing, but it was backs to the wall stuff. So we as a defence needed a breather. But look, Wayno's come out, and Wayno's a vocal lad as well. So we've squared up. I've done it loads of times, but I think obviously in the situation I was certainly in, with everything being like highlighted so much, and obviously Wayno's a great goalie, great lad, and we still speak now. If I see him, we hug each other and say what's happening. I think because he was a fan's favourite as well, and then I'm this villain that's obviously with everything that happened from me signing to that point. Yeah, but I think it got blown out a little bit of proportion.
Is that how you
I
feel?
think Wayno would tell you that as well.
Is that how you feel? You're the villain.
I don't want to. Let me just start again on the villain part. I hold my hands up. I've not been in the right in everything I've done at Wolves. I shouldn't have probably took the captaincy. My performance level wasn't good enough. But I don't want to make this whole thing about me. Oh, poor Roger. I don't want it to be that, because I signed to help the club, and I think in my period I didn't do that.
We're just getting some random noises in the
Yeah,
background
I
that
can
people
hear
can
it.
probably hear coming through, crashing and
Are you
banging.
sure you didn't tell anyone that I
Yeah,
was here?
yeah. Don't worry, we snuck you in to get this done. Don't worry. Because the reason I asked that is that there was obviously at the end of the season at Wigan, there was the stuff with the fans from there, and then at the end of effectively what became the end of your Wolves career at Brighton, when the Championship relegation happened, and there was this whole stuff with the shirt.
Do you know what though? A lad in the warm up, this is God's honest truth. He asked me, "Can I have your shirt after the game?" So obviously, what had happened, and then we'd lost, and the lads were going over. Yeah, we were getting abused. I was actually trying to look for this young lad. So, and then I'm half taking it off, and then everyone's going, obviously I can't use the language, but I thought, do you know what? I'll just leave it. So then that gets heightened. Oh, Johnson's tried to throw his shirt in the crowd, and we don't want it. It wasn't that. I think a 11-year-old asked me, can I have your shirt after the game? And I remember stuff like that.
You've got to go fast forward again. Now we talk about the bomb squad. So take us through, because it's that when I came to Wolves, there was a squad under Mick McCarthy, like with Bothroyd and Charlie Mulgrew and Elliot Bennett and things. So talk to us when Kenny Jackett comes to you. Then what happens from that moment on?
Like every other time, I'm sure you've had it. A new manager comes, does his big sort of thing with the lads, says where he wants to go, blah blah blah. I think Carl touched on it in his podcast, and then he did a list of names, the ones that were in it: me, Wardy, Foles, Carl, Jamie,
Doyler, I think.
Doyler, and then there was actually a couple of the French boys in it as well. How bad's that? I forgot their names. Razak.
That's a Bakari.
Could have been in it, and then what's the big tall lad as well? It's bad that I forgot their
Stephen
names.
Moyakolo.
No, we'll leave it anyway. But that was the crowd. He said, "Can you stay behind after?"
Tongo Doumbia.
There you go, him. So it was a fairly massive. Like, it was a big.
Yeah.
It was certainly.
It's a squad on its own.
It's a squad on its own.
Yeah.
There was certainly some. How do I word that?
Characters.
Characters. That's a better way of putting it. Certainly some characters are in it, and he just said, "Look, one by one, we went and had a chat with him. You're not my plans." And we had this chat before the show. I like straight talkers, so I was actually pleased that he took the time to say, "Look, you're not in the plans. We'll do everything we can to get you out of here." It wasn't sort of a conversation where it's, I would like a chance kind of thing. It was just, that was it. And I'm not stupid. I know the club have suffered back-to-back relegations and need to go push to get straight back up. If I'm not in their plans, that's fine. So I took that on the chin. Everything he said to me, I respected. I was like, okay, not a problem. So from then on, day by day, he went against what he said. Obviously, he said that I'll help you and we'll do everything we can. Started with the changing room thing, that we got shooed to the opposite end of the training ground without being told. All that stuff's out of our lockers, without saying a word, which I found a little bit disrespectful. Certainly I think Carl again touched on it. These people have won promotions with the club, been there a long time. So your Wardies, your Foles, your Carls, I think they deserved a bit more respect than that. Yeah, I've had a tough 2 years, 2 relegations. I kind of knew what was coming for me, but for the lads like Carl and the lads I mentioned there, I thought that was really, really bad, really bad. Carl said I'm not moving until he tells me, and I was kind of similar to it. Mort's the kit man at the time. I said, look, Mort's, I love you to bits, but it's not down to you to do this.
Yeah.
He's obviously took the coward's way out and has made you do it. It's not your job. So if the manager wants to have that conversation with me, I was only talking about me. If the lads want to go down there straight away, that's down to them. But I wanted him to come to at least me or as us as a group and say, look, lads.
Would you have stayed and played then?
Do you know what? I thought about this. I personally would have loved a chance to right the wrongs that had happened at Wolves. If they said you're in the plans, I'd have fought my thingies off to get in the team and get the club back promoted. Because I'm part of that. I'm to blame for that. A massive part in it. So would I say, yeah, hold up.
Because how do you view it now? And you see where the club has got to now. Is your view of Wolverhampton Wanderers, has it ever changed?
I think this is a huge, massive, great club, and I'm actually really pleased the club is back to where it kind of belongs. It's a huge club. I've got nothing. I'm pleased. I'm actually really pleased that the club are where they are.
So how, you say you never really got the opportunity to put the wrongs right, and it just got worse. I guess you're turning up, you weren't even allowed in the building at the same time. So give us a real background to that, because this is what we don't really know about.
Yeah, as time went on, we ended up, we were in there allowed in the same time, not down the bottom part. I don't know if many of the fans will know what the training ground's like, but you've got a front bit and a back bit. Where the first team trained, they're down the steps. We were out more or less in the car park. Weren't allowed to see what was going on. Another few days, week could go by. The times got later because then there was no coach to take us. Then Steve Hodge sort of took the job, but took the role. They got him in especially for the bomb squad to take us. And we all turned up. Don't get me wrong, we all turned up. We all grafted. And then the time started getting really late. It was like, right, the lads are in at 9. Not generally train at 10:30, leave. Majority of the crowd probably leave by 1:30, 2 o'clock. So we were in at like 3 o'clock because we weren't allowed in the building where any of the other lads were. So that started to get annoying. We turned up some days. Hodge couldn't make it for one of the days. There was no one to take us, or there was no pitch to go on. So we'd get straight back in our cars and drive home. So the communication skills, but there was a massive communication breakdown between certainly the manager, and I blame him, there's no one else, it's his job, he's the manager of the team. He should have come to us or had someone ring us and say, look, there's no pitch for you today, there's no coach for you today, stay at home. But I found that they were trying to break us. Yeah. But I think the lads in it, we were too long in the tooth for it. I didn't want to give them any excuse to not fine me, but just sack me. At clubs, when it's got to that stage, they're trying to look for anything on you to I don't know, sack you or fine you a week's wages. So we turned up, all of us, every day, right time, no one late, trained really, really hard. Hodgie was a great guy, and he had to take a lot of flack, to be fair, because within the sessions, it's tough. You train at 3 o'clock, more or less in the car park on this rubbish little bit of grass. So he took a lot of heat from us, our frustrations. I still speak to Hodgie now. He's a cool guy.
There's going to be more to come from Roger Johnson on our extended podcast. It's available to download from all the usual places. Thank you for coming on and being honest, and hopefully you feel like you've got a few things off your chest.
Yeah, no, I'm pleased I come on, and the boys have spoke about it. I know the lads that have been on it, and they said, why don't you do it? It'd be good for you to come on. And I said, yeah, I think I might, And then obviously when I got the text off Looms, and then you give me a text, I thought, let's just get it done. A lot of years have passed, so let's just right a few wrongs and hold your hands up to a few things.
It's been good.
Brilliant.
And there'll be plenty more to talk about available on our podcast. Thank you to our sponsors this year. It's the Old Gold Club, powered by Blythe Group. More to come on the extended podcast.